want to kind of get your reaction to this Fox News segment on China.
Oh, Lord.
Because I think, once again, electoral politics predictions are not that important, but right now I think Trump is going to win. Who cares if I'm wrong or not? Who cares? But right now, my general vibe is I think Trump is going to win. So now what I'm trying to tell people that, man, if you think that this war machine is going to slow down when Trump wins, you're out of your goddamn mind. And I've been watching the right wings. The way they've been speaking on China is as unhinged as you get on when you talk about liberals on Ukraine. And I don't want to get twisted because we don't play one party worse than another, because what's shocking is MSNBC, Morning Joe, and Democrats, they are just as bad on China, but Republicans are like more out and out about it, right? They're like straight up predicting war with China. So I'm actually going to dive right into this clip. Like I watch these segments, and just like when I watch Morning Joe, I literally can't stop laughing. It's unbelievable that people watch this garbage. Oh, wait, sorry, I didn't let me put it back up. It's crazy that people watch this garbage and they think they're getting real news. And this is why I say the United States is the most propagandized country in the world. Obviously, states engage in propaganda. We know that other states engage in propaganda. I am not being naive, fam. The thing is, other countries know when they watching the media, they get media from the state. They know the biases. People watch the United States media and think they getting real news. People watch this unhinged craziness. This is exactly why I say the United States is more propaganda. I think this segment speaks for itself. Since we're a long time to get started on it.
Island leaders this week, part of a U.S. campaign to block China's influence on the region. The Biden administration reportedly promising money for infrastructure and improved internet connectivity. Politico is reporting that the administration now is hoping to revive the World Trade Organization to help address China's economic policies and climate change. Joining me right now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow and author of The Coming Collapse of China and China is Going to War. Gordon Chang is with us once again.
Gordon, you guys see the motherfuckers they always pull up. And this guy...
That's the same guy every time.
This guy is a Dr. Evil cartoon character. Like, this guy is a parody of what you think a neocon is. And this guy pulls on an amazing grift. If you are a Chinese descent, and you betray your people in drum war against your own people, same way that black neocons do, like Hakeem Jeffries, John Lewis, and many black leaders sell out our community by being pro-imperialism. The same thing applies to Asian people, Chinese people as well. If you're a Chinese Uncle Tom and you sell your people out and sell war, you're going to be rich. This guy on the other side of the screen, I'm sure, is insanely rich. He writes all these books. He writes all these books about why we should go to war with China, and white people buy him like a motherfucker because that's like porn to them, I guess. Right? But anyway, let's listen to his opinion.
He's like Larry Elders. He's the Chinese version of Larry Elders. That's basically what he is. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Have written China Going to War. Explain that for us.
So you guys see the book he wrote, China Going to War? And he has an aura of credibility among white America because it's a Chinese person saying, so he got secret knowledge of this, right? Anyway, let's continue.
I have a hard time understanding where this administration is on China. It comes up with these ideas to lessen the influence, but then the policies actually embolden China.
Well, certainly. We've seen Biden administration diplomacy create the impression in Chinese minds that the United States believes it is subordinate to China.
Hold up, fam. I know you guys are hearing this.
Talking about?
That's why I want to get your reaction. I legitimately... So you guys see how up is down, right? Blue is red, left is right. They are pretending that Joe Biden has been weak on China. You know the guy who's sending weapons to Taiwan, armed South Korea and Australia with nuclear submarines, persuaded Japan to increase their military budget by 45% in order to increase pressure on China. That guy? Yes, fam. This has been the talking point of right-wingers for quite some time now. That somehow Biden is secretly weak and beholden to China. But it gets way worse. I got slowed. Let's continue for a second time.
We did that by sending 4 senior officials to Beijing in a row without a return visit from a Chinese official to Washington. And when Jake Sullivan met Wang Yi, China's chief diplomat, over the weekend, it was not in the United States. Xi Jinping harks back to the imperial era where vassals went to China and China did not send representatives to others. So this is...
You guys see their argument, CJ? They say that Biden is weak on China. Ignore the arms to Ukraine. Ignore the nuclear submarines. Ignore them pretty much scrapping the one China policy. They're weak on Ukraine because Chinese people from the Chinese government visit the United States without the United States visiting. The United States visited China without China visiting the United States. That is legitimately the argument that they are making right now. It's that cartoon, but let's continue. I got
really dangerous because deterrence was already breaking down. Biden is reinforcing that breakdown of critical deterrence.
So when you write about China going to war, are you talking about China going to war against the United States, or are you focused on Taiwan?
It's actually both.
So she asked him an absolutely batshit crazy question, where both answers are batshit crazy. Really, I want you to realize it. Both answers to that question is batshit, and he's like, all of the above. Wow, shit. So according to him, China is preparing to wage war in the United States right now. I want you guys to hear that again, and then I'll let it continue. Like, this is batshit.
So when you write about China going to war, are you talking about China going to war against the United States, or are you focused on Taiwan?
Both.
It's actually both. We already have unrestricted warfare, which is the killing of Americans with, for instance, fentanyl. But we're now seeing...
So it's China's fault that we have a fentanyl problem now. So somehow the Chinese Communist Party is responsible for fentanyl killing Americans. Not the CIA working with the drug cartels, not Big Pharma enabling the drug crisis. No, it's the Chinese Communist Party who's somehow pulling the string and forcing Americans to die with fentanyl. I'll let it continue because it's actually insane.
This is where China is preparing for hot war. So, for instance, with the China, Xi Jinping removing 11 generals in the Rocket Force, which is the branch of the Chinese military that controls nuclear weapons. One interpretation is that he's installing officers who he knows will push the button when he gives the order.
So that's completely, so this is what they do. Like, this is complete speculation. No evidence, no report. He just goes, one interpretation of that. Why are you picking the most unhinged interpretation unless you're a war hawk? How are you picking the most unhinged interpretation of that?
So the criticism of China behaving the way a country do is always hilarious to me. So CJ, if you ran a country, what would you do in the largest, one of the largest military superpowers of all time, who actually dropped a nuke a few times? You have multiple officials from that government that said they about to wage war with you. You had the United States say, "Oh, we predicted war with China in 4 or 5 years." NATO said, "We predicted war with China in 4 or 5 years." You had multiple Republican senators that are like, "Yeah, we're about to go to war with China soon." So China hears that and like, damn, we got a war coming up. Maybe we should shore up our military. Maybe that's something we should do because this fucking unhinged country talking about going to war with us. They use the fact that China is building their military up as some sort of aggression against the United States, as if the United States doesn't increase the military budget every single goddamn year, as if Japan did increase the military budget by 45%. But I'm gonna let it continue. There are only like 4 minutes. I definitely want to get 4 more minutes. I want to get through, so I actually let it play for a bit. It's gonna be tough though.
Rehearsals for war, one that is going on right now in Fujian province. Some people actually say it is the beginning of an invasion, but I think it's just a rehearsal. But the point is, Xi Jinping is getting his country ready for war. He's talking about war all the time. He is incented to be reckless. And we are being oblivious because we have no sense of urgency in the Oval Office.
I totally agree with you, Gordon. In fact, that is one of the reasons I focused so much on the apprehensions at the southern border. I mean, why are we seeing this enormous increase in the number of Chinese nationals coming through the border into America? And I spoke with the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee the other day, Mark Green, and he also was quite concerned about this issue. Watch this.
Listen to this crazy. I'll let it play. Listen to this
Chinese nationals. The highest it's ever been before that was like 1,200.
Wow.
And this is a planned thing from China. I mean, there's no way it's not. And Xi Jinping's smart. He saw what Vladimir Putin did in Ukraine. They infiltrated, they migrated, military age guys in, they settled in Ukraine, and those were the saboteurs when he invaded. So there's no way they're not there for us when we try to defend Taiwan.
So
there is someone.
So there's so much to say there. So for one, what he's talking about regarding the Putin thing is the fact that many Eastern Ukrainians are ethnic Russian who actually favor the Russian state. So this guy floats an unhinged conspiracy theory that these people who lived here for decades, the families who lived here for decades, Zoya, our great friend, I see you in the chat, Zoya's life, and from Odessa, former USSR, Soviet Union, right? That's Ukraine. You have long-time generational familial ties. But what he's saying is that Putin planted Russian people in Ukraine to turn against the Ukrainian government, which is completely counterfactual. No evidence of that whatsoever. You know something else they have no evidence of, and they didn't show any evidence of that? They were saying that the Chinese Communist Party is instructing Chinese nationals, and they are young military-aged men, to infiltrate our country, CJ. So Chinese people immigrating to the United States, they're playing the idea that they are traitors here to infiltrate our government on behalf of the Chinese government so they can wage war against us. Guys, this is absolute cuckoo for Cocoa Puff bullshit. This is the same shit that got us Japanese concentration camps. You guys understand that? CJ, you guys understand that? So they said during World War II that Japanese people living in the United States were secret agents of Imperial Japan. And they used that as justification to create concentration camps to lock these people up. So Fox News here, CJ, is complaining that Biden is not doing anything about quote-unquote Chinese nationals in the United States. So my question is, what are you implying? It's almost like these people are arguing for the return of concentration camps where they want to put Chinese people in concentration camps the same way we did the Japanese people. We got 10 more minutes for the debates. I'm going to let it play, but that's what they are hitting to, and they're going to continue more on this nonsense.
In that group that's prepared.
So you think,
and we're getting our military bases overwhelmed.
So you think this is all planned, that Xi Jinping is directing these military-aged people to come into America and settle here and be saboteurs when he's ready?
We have to suspect that. I mean, Maria, we
no
have
evidence.
to suspect
We got
that. And anyone who doesn't is just...
Gordon, what are your thoughts on this?
Military age, Nick. What the fuck is that? Military age. You see how a propagandist has such an imagination, Nick, that just random people come in. How can I describe them as being something nefarious? You just say military age. You just literally just put military and say, hey, what does that mean? What? A military human. He's a what does that mean? But that's a new term, military age, as to say, because there's no other way to create just regular people coming over to a country, migrating or visiting or coming to live, moving to live, unless you do it this way. There is no other evidence. This is why they have to describe Chinese aggression very vaguely, very like where they're not able to give details because they're not doing anything militarily. But go ahead, Nick. If you're gonna,
I love that you brought that up, and that's why I wanted to get your reaction to this segment, because this segment literally had me feeling some way. I literally could not contain my reaction. It was unbelievable watching this for the first time. So I want you guys to realize military-age man is what these psychopaths, the neocon psychopaths say all the time. So CJ, when we launched the war on terror, we would drone strike and kill innocent civilians, but they would report, oh, there were some military-aged men that we killed. That way, white Americans be like, so instead of saying we killed civilians, we said we killed military-aged men. It's a term they use all the time, so people will automatically think we're killing hostiles, but no, we killing people's fathers and brothers and shit. You know what I mean? And they also use the term insurgent. The George Bush administration, the George Bush Jr. administration did this a lot. They said there was insurgents. What does that mean? The fuck they created a term. So when you look up what the Pentagon defined as insurgent, they said it was essentially any military-aged man who did not support U.S. occupation. So essentially, if you attended a protest and you wanted the United States to leave Iraq, and the United States killed you, they wouldn't report you as a civilian death. They said, "Oh, we killed a military-aged man insurgent, someone who's anti-United States." Anyway, there's so much crazy shit our government do that people don't realize, the propaganda terms that people don't realize that I'll spend all day. There's only like one more minute we definitely had to get to. I think we got enough time, so let's continue. So you had the other guest which you played, and this host does anti-China segments all the time. So will this guy who is of Chinese descent, he's not military age, but is he going to put back about the idea that anyone who immigrate from China may be a Chinese spy? You would think it would be in his best interest, in his family best interest, to put back against that, right, CJ? But let's hear what he had to say.
Actually, military-aged men coming through, according to the border sources we've spoken with.
Yes. We're seeing a failure in China, which is the reason why there are Chinese migrants in the United States and elsewhere. But in that group are saboteurs. There are packs of Chinese males of 5 to 15 of military age traveling without family members and pretending not to speak English. And as the chairman said, Border Patrol knows that some of these Chinese males have links to the military. There was that lab that a building inspector stumbled across in Reedley, California, a month or two ago. And there they had at least 20 pathogens. That's the official count. But there were almost 1,000 mice that had been genetically engineered to transmit disease. So China is planning to kill Americans before the first shot is fired in Taiwan, Japan.
China is engineering genetically modified mice to kill Americans. Dude, they got CJ. There are white boomers watching this shit in horror right now.
Believe it.
They're gonna see military-age Chinese people walking around. They're gonna be freaking the fuck out now.
So this is some aggressive, Nick. I must say, This is some of the most aggressive as far as the rhetoric, propaganda I've heard in a long time, because, this is a great comment, CJ. Out of you have to be just in a different mental state to really understand the sort of psychopath nature of what he's doing. And it's a propaganda tactic where he's not distinctly telling you anything that the military-aged men that are arriving here are the ones that's doing that's planning these experiments, these rat experiments. He's not telling you that. All he has to do is talk about it in the same sentence to give you the impression. So what he did was seamlessly go from, we got these military-aged men who are coming, they're trained, they're pretending to like to speak English. I didn't even hear a break to say I'm changing the subject. He just went into something about these pathogens, Nick, without a break in the sentence. That's to connect these two seemingly things that have nothing to do with each other. No evidence at all what he's saying. He's just taking essentially two conspiracy theories, real conspiracy theories that is just out of there, and just let me sandwich all of this together to create this emotion of terror. We got to do something. They're coming for us. That kind of thing. That's what he's doing.
So, CJ,
just crazy.
China has deadly air balloons. And in this segment alone, China is responsible for sending fentanyl and killing Americans. And now China had fucking Master Splinter, apparently, have genetically altered mice killing Americans. And they fit all this in one segment, fam. It's literally impressive.
I've never seen this be this aggressive like this.
I pulled this one because this one the most recent one, CJ, and I'm going to be doing this. I need to make a name for the Chinese segments because I'm pushing this because this is something that we need to pay attention to. Maybe China Propaganda Watch, something like that. Because almost every day there's a video like this on Fox News. And it's getting worse. And then MSNBC is matching them, and they are in hand as well. But we got to be clear. If you look at these right-wing neocons, as you just said, they are ramping up to the next fucking level with China. And even the anti-war right-wingers like Matt Gaetz, even they signal that they want to wage war with China. They got criticism of the Ukraine war because they think they're taking resources from waging war against China, right? So I'll play the last few minutes and we're going to switch to debate here soon. I want them to finish this unhinged conspiracy theory and we can move on. This is the last segment we're going to play, so I'll let it play for about a minute.
In Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, or wherever.
Wow. Liz Peek, jump in.
Good morning, Gordon. Is it
to kill America a month or two ago? And there they had at least 20 pathogens. That's the official count. But there were almost 1,000 mice that had been genetically engineered to transmit disease. So China is planning to kill Americans before the first shot is fired in Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, or wherever.
And there's one more thing I'm going to say because I saw a great comment I wanted to highlight because sorry, I forgot your name. I put your comment on the screen earlier. They said since they are saying this on Fox News, this is 100% what the United States is doing, by the way. Not the exact, maybe not the exact same thing, like the exact same example, but we definitely engage in chemical warfare against our enemies. What we do is 100% projection.
Jump in.
Good morning, Gordon. I wasn't going to ask you about this, but is our government tracking these Chinese nationals who are coming into our country? Are they trying to keep tabs on where they go and where are they going? Are there particular cities or destinations that you're aware of?
We do not track them after they've been released. And of course, we have no idea of the number of Chinese males who come across and are not apprehended.
So not apprehended, fam.
A sabotage problem.
I ended there, but you got to see, this is maybe for the next minute. They imply that Biden is not doing enough because he's not setting up Chinese concentration camps. So he said there are Chinese males that are not contained. What are you implying, sir? What do you want our government to do to make us safe in this situation? So, man, never discount how crazy things can get, fam. Never discount how violent our police state could become. And that's why I'm going to focus on this on China Propaganda Watch, because not only from Democrats, but from Republicans and the right, they have completely and utterly lost their goddamn mind. That's why it's great that I see Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy and people who have a very sizable right-wing audience. I'm glad that they speak out against the war against China. We need more independent media to speak out against the war against China, because even the right-wing faux populists, they're not even pretending on there. They're like, no, they straight up unhinged China neocons as well. If you pay attention to all the right-wing commentators, there's only one sliver of the American population knowing one part of political discourse that against war in China, and that is the socialists, that the communists, that the anti-war activists that are true to this, that are calling to prevent war in China. But anyway, CJ, any last thoughts on that segment? They get started on the debate now, no rush, but they still setting it up.
Yeah, it's like literally I've never, or I haven't. I'm not gonna say never. I haven't in a long, like at least over a year, haven't seen that intense, aggressive propaganda on really anything. It's usually softer. Like if I had to describe, it's usually trying to mask it a little bit more than what he's doing there. Because if you know even a little bit information about China, you could clearly understand that this guy is just out of his mind what he's saying. So
I think most Americans can see through it, to be honest. Because remember, like if you look at the numbers, even the good Fox News show, this is a very small percent of partisans in this country. I want people to realize that. Like people lose their faith in humanity and all that shit, but like when you look at like Ben Shapiro, right? When you look at even Fox News, these are very small percent. Like there's only 25% of the countries who consider themselves partisan, right? Who are Republican, Democrat. And then among the people who are Republican and Democrat, even a smaller amount actually listen to this. And one of the reasons why they don't listen to it, because I think most average people who are not brainwashed and their mind not completely colonized, they will see this segment. They're like, what the fuck is this?